Okay, good morning and welcome. Yeshiva YouTube, just Daf It share, Daf Yomi share, learning Kesubos, Daf Lamed 35, in the middle of Perik Elunaros. I want to talk today a little more. I'm going to talk in the share about Kimle B'Derabamine. There's a very important fundamental difference between Misa and Malchus, assuming that Malchus is more severe than Mammon, which technically I'm going to prove in Yud Ben Sion is not the case, La Halacha. But there still remains a very important difference. And in Iyad Ben Sion, I'm going to introduce a new third possibility, but the shot of Kimle B'Derabin we have not talked about yet, and explain basically the halacha follows this distinction, which is very important. So let's get into it. The bottom of Lamed Dalam Beis, Gemara says we had a machlokas in yesterday in Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan by Chive Malchus. We're going to start Daf by Chive Malchus. Do you need to be actually get Malchus? Do you have to actually have a Hasra and be Chayiv Malchus to pater from Mammon according to Rabbi Yochanan? Meaning this is all in the Shita of Rabbi Yochanan, who holds that Malchus is more severe than Mammon, or Rish Lakish says he agrees with Rabbi Yochanan that Malchus is more severe than Mammon. However, even if you're just not warned, you just do something which would make you Chayiv Malchus, even though technically we can't give you Malchus, it would pater you. So Rish Lakish Rabbi Yochanan. Rish Lakish has a question. Rabbi Yochanan. V'lo ye'ason and Oceanish. It says V'lo ye'ason. This is talking about when the person strikes a woman who's pregnant. There's no ason. There's no tragedy. The woman wasn't killed. Just her fetus. There was a miscarriage. Anoshanish. He has to pay money. The pasuk says. My love, the top of Lamed and Aleph, also in Mamish. Aren't we talking about also in Mamish, meaning whether the woman dies? It means technically whether the woman died or not. That's all we care about. We don't care if there was a hasra or not. Whether this is actually about misa. We'll see how it relates to Malchus in a second. Lo yason. We're talking about ason, right? Even if it just matters whether she dies or not, right? So even if she would die, there was no hasra, in which case you wouldn't be chayav misa for killing her. It would still pater from the mammon. So Rish Lakish says, you see that even if there's no hasra, technically you can't be mechayev the person sayif, right? That's the punishment for killing somebody. You can't be mechayev the person sayif. Still, it would pater the mammon. The answer is Rabbi Yochanan answers, lo din ason. But Torah says ason means the din of an ason means a tragedy where the person who killed the woman would actually have to die. Where there was hasra. Ika de amri. Alternatively, a different way of saying this discussion. Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan asked for Rish Lakish in the same passage. Lo yason no shianish. My love din ason doesn't mean din ason, where technically the person should be killed. Lo ason. My love din ason doesn't mean they actually have to be killed. The Gemara says lo ason mamish. Any way of the woman dying, whether the person's chayav misa for killing him or not chayav misa for killing him, Rish Lakish answers, then it would still pater from the moment. I'm a Rava. Rava says, everyone should agree that chayav misa shogin, right? When it comes to chayav misa, even if you did a b'shogeg, which wouldn't, or there was no asra, where you would not be chayav misa, right? Everyone would agree with chayav. At the time of the Chizkiah, right? Chizkiah taught. They taught in the academy of Chizkiah. Chizkiah has a yeshiva here in Yerushalayim, on top of Esha Torah, Hanan de Chizkiah, on top of Esha Torah, they have a yeshiva over there. Maka, I'm joking. Maka Adam, Maka Behima, Maka Behima, Lo Chilakta. Just like Maka Behima, Lo Chilakta, but Ben Shogi, Amazing, Miskavin, L'Shein, Miskavin, Ben Derech Yirida, Derech Aliyah, Lapotra, Mammon, L'Chayva, Mammon. Right? The Torah compares hitting an animal, which is nezek, to killing someone. Right? Just like when it comes to causing nezek to someone, it doesn't matter whether you did a b'shogeg or a mezit, whether you're mechav or not mechav. When we did a derech yerida or derech aliyah have significance, but when it comes to galus, the Gemara says in makos, the mechav galus, you kill someone with b'shogeg. It depends if you're doing a derech yerida or derech aliyah. When you're picking something up, it falls, or whether you're lowering it down. El leposhim l'chayva moment, right? The Gemara says famously in Maseches Bava Kama that Adam muad la'olam, you're always chayiv when you cause nezek to someone's property. So also af make Adam lo tichlo bavin shogim mezid miskam l'shem miskam min dachrid al derech aliyah l'chayva moment el leposhim moment. Similarly, when you kill a person, right? Just like we always know, kimle b'derabim. Now you're pater from mammon, whether you did it b'shogim, whether you actually killed the person or not, doesn't make a difference. it patters, right? So it must be when the Torah says an ason, it's like Reish Lakish was saying, like they were originally thought, ason mamish, whether he actually gets killed or not killed, the fact that you killed a lady, even if you killed her b'shogeg, it would still pater for paying for the fetus. So Elok Yasa Rav and Amar, this is the halacha, Chayv Misa Shogeg and Kuli Amalo Pligi de Peturin, right? Even if you can't actually get Misa's based in, it would pater you. Now this is not like Rechunin Akana. Rechunin Akana says like Yom Kippur would pater you from Mammon, where the only punishment is kares. Here, the punishment has to be Misa's based in. But if you're not Chayiv Misa's based in, because either he did a b'shogeg, or he's not Mechavin, or he didn't have Asra, so in that case, everyone gets a wood pater from the Mammon. This is the halacha. We don't pass in the Rechunin Akana. We pass in that only Chayiv Misa's based in. Pater you. Kipli b'Chayiv Malkus Shogeg. When it comes to where you're Chayiv Malkus and Mammon at the same time, but the Chayiv Malkus is only done b'shogeg with davar acher. I'm coughing too much. Excuse me. V'davar acher, when you're talking about davar acher is referring to mama, to money. When you're chayiv malchus b'shogeg and chayiv money. Rabbi Yochanan chayiv misos iskash chayiv malchus lo iskash. Right? He says chayiv misos based and doesn't have to actually get capital punishment. A malchus, you do have to get capital. You have to get actual malchus to pater from mama. If you don't get actually get malchus, you do it b'shogeg, or you don't have asra, so you wouldn't pater from the one. Rish Lakish pater of ships the Torah chayiv malchus chayiv misos. The Torah compares malchus to misa, so therefore even like chayiv malchus, if you didn't get asra, it would pater from the mama. Heichan ribsa Torah. So where did the Torah include this? Amar Abaye, ask you Rasha. Rasha is mentioned one time when it comes to killing someone. And Rasha also, Vayayim ben Akas Rasha. Dagan Malchus. Rava Amar, ask you Maka. It's a Gdish of Maka. Later, Papa Rava, hi Maka. Which Maka are you talking about? Maka Be'ema Yishal Bena. Maka Adam Yumas. Compares the two Makas over there. Hi Viktalak. Maka Adam Yumas is talking when you kill someone. Not when you're chayav malchus. Ela hay maka nefesh behema yishal mena nefesh tachas nefesh v'samichlei ish keitin mum ba'amiso g'hesher asa kenya asalo. The next pasuk says, when you hit somebody, you have to get punished for it. Hay lav, where I asked for hay lav maka he doesn't say the word maka in the second pasuk. Anan haka amrinan. It doesn't say maka, but it says keitin mum, which is the same thing as hitting somebody. So therefore, even though it's not a direct derivation from the words, but it's from the same idea. The Gemara asks, "Haki chsiv b'chol b'chaveru d'chsiv." This pasuk Maka kitin mum ba'amizo is talking about b'chol b'chaveru. B'chol b'chaveru bar tashlumeru. You don't get malchus in that case. You pay money. So the Gemara says, "Einu inyan lahakash yesh b'shava pruta. Tanei inyan lahakash yesh b'shava shem b'shava pruta." There was a previous pasuk that talked about when you actually harm, when you actually chol b'chaveru, when you actually cause a wound in your friend. That says where you're chayav something that's makash yesh b'shava pruta. Right, where you chayav mammon and you get mammon and not malchus, so therefore this pasuk, the second pasuk, must be talking about akasha ein b'shava pruta, where you only chayav malchus, you're not chayav mammon, because a bar yisrael is bar pakam b'shava pruta. You don't have to restore, you don't have to give restitution for that. Sof the Gemara asks the top of the is lav bar tashlumehu. It's not tashlumen. It's not a case where you have malchus and mammon. There's no mammon over here. Of course, you get malchus. So the Gemara answers, Lo sricha d'vahadi d'maki karishi ryan d'ilay. Now the pasuk is talking about where while you hit him, you ripped. It's not exactly kol v'chaver. Your kara shirayin, you hit wound his body. Your kara shirayin d'ilay. You ripped his silk pants, his silk pajamas. You ripped his silk pajamas. So therefore, there is mammon involved, and there is malchus. And according to Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, malchus is more severe than mammon. So you learn from this pasuk that it's talking about a case where he ripped the silk also, so you're pater for the mammon, and you're chayiv the malchus. And the malchus you're chayiv even if you didn't do it. There's no hasra. You did it b'shogeg. Amalei Rav Chila Rava v'talam b'chizkiya damar maka adam maka mehema. How the b'chizkiya says right? He learns a maka adam maka mehema. Ma'id b'chol the b'chol ksiv. Right, he learns his famous drasha, where we pass him like Chizkiya, that when it comes to Chayiv Mises Basin, even if you do a b'shogeg, even if it's not miskaven, even if there's no hasra, it wouldn't make a difference. It would pater you from the mammon. He learns it from the pasuk, comparing Maka Adam to Maka Behema. Right? How do you know Maka Behema when you enter someone's property? They're animals. The Cholksiv. How do you know what's talking about during the week? The lake lefluke, and there's no distinction between maka behema and maka adam. Dilma b'Shabbos, maybe you're injuring his property on Shabbos, you're ruining his property on Shabbos. The behema gufa, you can lefluke, right? If you mazik someone's money, his property, his animal on Shabbos, right? You're chovavah, you make a wound on his animal, you kill his animal. So that's a malacha on Shabbos. So you would actually putter from Mamon in that case. So you can't make the comparison. What case are we talking? If there's no hasra, maka adam and mayumas, right? Why does it say if you kill someone you'll die? Right? You have to get hasra if you want to die. It must be there's hasra. If it's Shabbos and you got hasra, why are you paying? Everyone agrees that if you're getting Mises Basin for committing a malach on Shabbos, of course you're going to pater from Mammon. El Lab B'chol must be talking about B'chol, and therefore it's a correct comparison that Tana B'chizkiah makes. I'm later Papa Abaye, L'Rabba Damar Chiddush Shechitcha Torah B'Knas Avagav D'Mikta Mashalim. Rabba says according to our mayor we have a huge chiddush that even though normally Kim Levi Rabban and Misa paters from Mammon, by Knas doesn't pater from Mammon. Basisin Kaman Mukimla, who is our Mishnah going to be like? Ikara Mayor. Bito. Why did you only say the case of kares? A chosa, would you say even bito, which is chayv and mises based, and you're sleep together with your daughter, right? Sreifa, I think. You're chayv mises based in. Of course, it's gonna. According to our mayor, you're chayv a knas. Even with mises based in, you're chayv a knas. So why does it say bito? Even a bigger chiddush. Shikar nechuni ben akana. If our Mishnah subscribes to the view of nechuni ben akana, kasha achoso. Why in Achoso? Achoso should pater from the Mammon because even Chayve Krisos pater from Mammon. Ikar Yitzchak is an opinion mentioned in Maseches Makos. He says that when you do something which is Chayev Kares, right? Your Chayev Kares, there's no din mal Kares sort of paters from Malchus. There's no Malchus from Makom Kares. Kasha Mamzeres. So why in case Mamzeres do you pay a knas, right? There's no Malchus over there. So sorry, one second. Ikar Rabbi Yitzchak. Right, Ikar Rabbi Yitzchak. Right, we're assuming now. Okay, if you have Malchus and Mammon, so. Mamzeres, right? There's no kares Mamzeres. That's this problem I was trying to figure out. Mamzeres, there's no kares, right? So Rabbi Yitzchak says kares. When there's kares, there's no malchus, but there's malchus. So then why is there a mammon, right? Or we're subscribing to the Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, who seem to agree that by malchus it would pater from the mammon. If he holds a Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan says the case in our Mishnah is talking about there was no asra. There's no asra. So Rabbi Yochanan holds, then you get the mammon penalty. So the Gemara says, "Who dami taris like Rabbi Yochanan?" You have to say that he does hold. Rabbi does hold like Rabbi Yochanan. Ela isavar kareish lakish, right? Ela isavar kareish lakish. Hachim taris la. Korach Rabbi Yochanan strila. So the Gemara says it must be Rabbi does hold. Our Mishnah follows the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, and that's why you get mammon because you are not chayav malchus because there's no asra. Amalei Rav Masal Abaye, Rav Masal Abaye. Reish Lakish Damar Rav Feir Ships Torah chayav malchus chayav misos. Right, according to Reish Lakish, that even if you chayav malchus, but you can't get the malchus because there was no hasra, or it was shkaga. The polygal. This is the Gemara is asking an interesting question. Akana has an interesting opinion. He says that kares paters, even though Mrs. Basin, besides the fact that Mrs. Basin paters, also kares likewise would pater from mammon. So the Gemara says Ikar Meir, Ikar Yitzchak. It could be like Meir. Meir holds that you always get by knas, you always get a monetary punishment, even if you have kares. So you have Mrs. Basin, even more than that. Rabbi Yitzchak, alternatively, the person who argues on Rabbi Yitzchak says that when you're chayav something which potentially is malchus and kares, you only get kares. There's no chi of malchus over there. So, in a case where there's just malchus, right? So the malchus would pater for the mammon. Um, and if there's, as opposed to if there's kares, right? According to Yitzchak, if you do something which is chayav kares, so it's only kares and not malchus. Maybe Rabbi Yitzchak could actually argue on Mechayim Nakana, because Mechayim Nakana says that when you do something with kares, right? There's a lav also, so you're chayav both malchus and kares. Mechayim Nakana says on the power of those two, the malchus and the kares, that patters from the mammon. Rabbi Yitzchak holds no. When you chayav kares, there's no malchus over there, so maybe he wouldn't hold that it would pater from the mammon in that case. At the conclusion of today's shir, short shir, 15 minutes, almost half the time that I normally give myself to give a shir. It's pretty good, 15 minutes. Stay tuned for Ian Van Zion, which is really going to be monumental, and discussing a third approach to Kim Leib the Rabbimine, when there's Misa and Mammon and Malchus and Mammon. You don't want to miss this coming up next.